like drumming to the beat. Good evening. I'm going to bring this RTM annual budget meeting back from recess. Today is Monday, May 13th. We are going back to order at 6:35. Here at the Thrive 55 Active Center. And again, thank you for all that are online. Thank you for the membership that are here. And we're going to start with the roll call.
Adams. Here. Bailey.
Here.
Burrell.
Here.
Casper. Crockett Hubbard. Dean Shinbra. Here. Dutton. Hi. Fetters. Fitzgerald.
I see her.
Here. Okay. Fritchie.
Here.
Fox.
Here.
Frickman.
Here.
Gardner.
Here.
Gibbs. Good.
Here.
Hanscom.
Here.
Herbert. Johansson.
Here.
Caden.
Here.
Keep.
Here.
Luck. Massett.
Here.
McElroy.
Here.
Norman. Aubrey.
Here.
Perella.
Here.
Perry.
Here.
Powers K.
Here.
Powers S.
Here.
Pulaski.
Here.
Robertson.
Here.
Umritz. V.C. Williams.
Here.
Watson.
Here.
Wells.
Here.
Whitney F.
Here.
Whitney M.
Here.
I'm here.
Okay, 30.
I got 30. 30 all day. Got a good count.
I can't
All right.
get you off my screen.
All right. For the folks that are on Zoom, if you don't mind putting yourselves on mute unless you want to speak. Also, if you want to speak, can you please just raise your hand so that I could make sure I'm surfing through and making sure that we get to you. All right. We have planning and development services up. However, our community development and services chair is not present, which would be quite challenging in order to retrieve the minutes for this meeting. So I gotta say right off the rip that I did get notification from Representative Norman that they are not going to be in attendance tonight, but I did not get it from anyone else. I saw that you were going to be late, but you were right on time, so thank you, Chair Watson. So do we happen to have the minutes for the meeting that I might be able to read off so that we can move forward, so Director Reiner can speak to his budget, and then we can move that number? Representative Keep?
Thank you. Yeah, we do have the minutes from Casper
Okay.
for the meetings.
Do you happen to, would you be able to share those with me? And unless you have them, and if I could recognize you to submit those minutes verbally, and then we can move to accept those minutes, so then we can move on with our meeting.
Happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to recognize de facto chair, Representative Keep, so that we can move forward with this agenda for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, they came to us in two separate emails.
And right now, we're looking for account 1046, Planning and Development Services, and then we'll go from there.
1046, okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm
That's okay. I know this,
trying to find them.
you were under the gun here, so,
I've got both of them, I'm just trying to find count
very well.
that, ten 1046.
Correct.
This is from meeting minutes of April 24th, 2024. And with regard to account 1046,
Yep, that's Planning and Development Services, for those who need to know, and it's on page 128 of our budget book.
go ahead and read from the minutes, okay?
Yes, if you could read the
Okay.
minutes, that'd be wonderful, please.
This is from the minutes. Next agenda item was account 1046, Planning and Development Services, $1,979,655, cut by $125,000 by council. John Reiner, Director of Planning, spoke and highlighted department achievements, including the former Sealy School Triton Square project, which should add $1 million a year in new taxes when fully built out. They've gotten a $6.4 million community college grant, a community challenge grant for the Pequannock Bridge area, almost $700,000 in resiliency grants. Building permits have increased over his tenure from $250K a year to $920K without increasing staff numbers. Many projections have not yet started. Questions on the council cut? The fact reply was it cut two intern, INTERN, intern positions, and moved their ARPA position out of their department and some software needs. Rep. Cadden moved to approve $1,854,034, the council number. Rep. Keep second, unanimously approved.
Okay, and if you don't mind, could you please, 'cause I know we've got a few, well, there's only a few, so can we just make a motion to approve the minutes as presented for you for this account, please?
Sure.
I'll second it.
All right, so it was moved by Representative Dutton, seconded by, I'm going to pick one, Pulaski, thank you. All right, to approve the minutes for account 1046, Planning and Development and Services. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Please say no. Any abstentions? All right, the motion to approve the minutes as presented is accepted unanimously. All right, so if you could just move that number again for us, Representative Keep, or de facto Chair Keep, that'd be great.
The number?
Yes,
The total
please.
amount, $1,854,032.
Second.
Can you repeat that number again, please?
$1,854,032.
Okay, so it was moved by Representative Keep, seconded by Powers S. Count 1046, Planning, Development, and Services. One moment while I put it on the board for everyone. Well, you know, it's lean times in Groton, all right? We don't have many of these pens laying around. Again, this is account 1046, Planning, Development, and Services. The number on the floor, if you want to write it down, is 1854032. It is on our sheets here in front of us. This is a reduction from the manager's number. This was approved by council, and it also passed unanimously through committee. I open up the floor for debate on this number. Yes, Representative Powers S.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Director Reiner, can you just talk to the cuts? I'd like to hear your opinion on it, please.
Sure.
Thank
Good
you.
evening. Good evening, everyone. John Reiner, Director of Planning and Development Services. The cuts that were done, there were some cuts from the manager, from my budget. The manager made some cuts, and then the council made some cuts. They're all cuts that we can live with. We know this is a difficult budget year, and I think the budget as presented allows us to move forward doing the things that we need to do.
Thank you, Director Reiner. And for those who don't know, it's Director Reiner, Director of Planning and Development. Yes, Representative Dean Shinbrot.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I don't want to pick on anyone, but it's a 9% increase over last year. Can you speak to that?
Sure. So some of that increase is contractual salary increases, as well as there is a new position as a sustainability and resiliency specialist. This past year, we've gotten over $700,000 in grants, and there's more grants out there. We got the grants, now we actually have to do the work for those grants, so some of it is we're still chasing additional dollars. We are in an unprecedented time of how much grant funding is out and available, so it's best that we take advantage of that now. We're also using money that we're setting aside through CIP projects from Public Works and working with other departments, and taking money that we're spending now or will be spending in the future and trying to use that as match to grow the project to do things that we would have to do in the future. So where we might study something before, now with grants we're applying for, we can do study and design, so it'll save us money in the future. Without that additional position, we're tapped out. We can't apply for any more grants.
And if I'm not mistaken, Director Reiner, there is an active posting. I've seen it on social media for this specific position. Is this something that was in the last budget, or is this something that's different from what I saw as a post?
That was probably different from a post, so we had an economic development specialist. We just filled that position, of a longtime employee of about 8 years, recently left for a nice job somewhere else, and we were fortunate enough to fill that position. So this would be a sustainability and resiliency specialist.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Representative Whitney M.
Thank you. Just have a couple of quick questions. I was looking through the wages and salaries, and one of them was manager inspection services. Everything else seems like it's up like 2 or 3%, which is in line with contractual. That one looks like it's up about 20,000, if I'm reading that right. Just wondering about that.
Yeah, sure. So I can't remember if we actually, I think the manager may have had to come to the RTM during that process, or if that was just discussed at the council level. So our previous manager of inspection services was recruited from somewhere else, got a incredibly large increase in salary. The city of Groton around the same time was also advertising for the same position, and they advertised at $130,000, and we advertised and said we need to go close to matching that. They actually took our assistant building and zoning official. So in order to match the market, the current council, I think it was probably late this summer, advertised and allowed us to go up to a higher number on that position. Otherwise, we weren't going to be able to fill it.
Got it. Thank you. I kind of remember that now. And it speaks to the importance of keeping good people and with the contractual raises, because anytime you replace someone, there's always a jump that occurs.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of talk about the sustainability and resilience specialist, the new position. And I watched the town council meeting and then the committee meeting as well. And I thought you did a really good job of underscoring how important that new position is and bringing in the grants that are available now. And it brought to my mind what public safety was saying, that at a time there used to be grants for some things and now there aren't. And so this is the time to get them and have the capacity to do that. And it led me to think, I think you made a comment about salary matches, providing matches for these grants. And I was just wondering is, in order to match time with the grant, that person has to have the time. And it seems like to me the resilience person you have right now is already maxed out in terms of that. So bringing on this new person is not just new capacity, like to actually get the job done. It's new capacity to bring in the grants too, in every regard.
Exactly.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on the main motion on the floor? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote on account 1040, Planning, Development, and Services. The number on the floor is $1,854,032. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? Okay, just to be clear, at 6:42, Representative Gibbs showed up, so we have 31 members present, so that's a unanimous vote, 31-0-0. Thank you, Director Reiner. All right, am I on the right one here? We had CIP, I think I might have got an older version of this draft, but we're going to CIP 8. 7 we already did.
We did.
Yes. All right, so if you don't mind giving us discussion on the CIPs that you had presented, which is CIP 8B and 8F, and then we can wrap up your minutes, please.
Sure, thanks. Next, quoting from the minutes, next agenda item was CIP B, open space acquisition
Yeah.
for fiscal year 2025 is 0. Final agenda item is CIP F, plan of conservation and development at 50K. Director Reiner explained this is a plan done every 10 years and sets the framework for how we grow and develop. It's a project we are about to start, but looking at what communities of our size have done and at what cost, and desire to have a lot of public engagement in getting by some of these complicated issues is very important, and they want to be sure to have enough funding to do it and are asking for the extra 50K. Rep. Perry moved 50K for CIP F, plan for conservation development, second by Rep. Caden, unanimously approved.
Can you just move those minutes for us, please? Okay. They are moved by Representative Dudden, seconded by Watson.
Could I just have one quick question?
Yes.
So we are obviously in a fiscal crisis, and we understand that. And thank you, Representative Whitney, for your eloquent explanation, and thank you, Representative Keep. We need to have a one-year pause to think about how best to use our land. And I'm just saying this, it's a question, because I'm looking at what we have on the agenda tonight and this week, and it would be really good, because people are asking for $0.
If I can just hold you up there, again, with all due respect, we're just approving the minutes that he's presented. When we
approving
bring the
them.
motion on the floor, then we can have discussion on the CIPs.
It's all cool. What I'm trying to say is we've got a big question, and that's what I'm putting to the minutes. I approve the minutes. I'm absolutely approving the minutes. I am also saying we need to think about where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on approval of the minutes? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote on approval of the minutes as presented by our Pro Tem Chair, Representative Keep. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. And any abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously to approve the minutes. So again, just for a point of information, we have 8B, which was zeroed out, so we cannot do anything with this as an RTM body. We can't restore it, we can't do anything, so I just wanted everyone to be clear. So the one that we can work on is agenda item 8F, which is Plan of Conservation and Development. So if you don't mind, sir, can you please move that number? That was approved by your committee.
$50,000.
Second.
Okay, motion was moved by Representative Keep, seconded by Whitney for CIP 8F, Plan of Conservation and Development for $50,000.
I would like to make amended motion.
Yes, Representative Bailey.
I would like to also move 0.
Second.
All right, there is a first amended figure on the floor for CIP 8F, and that motion was moved by Representative Bailey, seconded by Representative Dean Shinbrot for the amount of $0. So we're gonna work on this first amended figure, and I open up the floor for debate on that. Representative Bailey, Representative Massa, before I recognize your hand, Representative Bailey, did you want to speak to this motion at all?
I don't think it would be really necessary. I think it's pretty obvious that in conserving as far as much as has been spent in education and a few other departments, we have to consider what we can bring that we can do without. And this, we can do without. We fund it pretty much every year, and it's one of those type of things that I think is pretty much an extra. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Bailey. Representative Massa, you have the floor.
This is just a question for Director Reiner. If I'm not mistaken, we are required by statute to update this particular plan every so often.
Yes, so we have to update or rewrite this plan once every 10 years. This is our large vision document that sets the stage for how land use and land use decisions are made in the town of Groton for the next 10 plus years. We're required by state law to do this, and if we don't have an approved plan of conservation and development, many of the grants and other things that we apply for, we're no longer eligible for.
Okay, thank you.
So this is a once every 10-year type of request.
And Representative Reiner, what year are we on right now when it comes to this 10 years based on statute?
We have to have this plan adopted by about June of 2026. The whole process to develop this plan is about an 18 to 20 month process, and then it's about another 3 to 4 month process of public hearings and referrals to other state agencies and regional agencies. So we're perfectly on track if we start this in the coming months. And we've already been doing some outreach and prep work the last number of months to get kind of the skids greased on this through the community, letting people know that this initiative is coming up.
Okay. Representative Perella?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm thinking that the budget before this, that's the one we should have probably cut. However, you know how I feel about land use, and I think that we need to do it, because what's going to happen is we're not going to have it in place, and then next year, that plan is not going to be complete. And once again, all I would say is thank you, Representative Massa, for pointing that out, and all the other representatives for wanting to cut the budget, because we do need to do that, but it's very difficult. So this one I'm not going to support cutting, because I am concerned that we're going to be losing a lot of land if we just develop everything. We need to develop, and the town is really working hard to do that, and I will give you compliments on that. I don't agree with everything. However, I think that we are on the way, and with the public input, if we have this in place, then we've got a start to get this plan in place so we don't make mistakes and develop properties that we're not going to get back. So.
Thank you. Yes, Representative Keep.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that because of the contingency requirement for grants, in other words, that a plan be in place, I think we have to think long-term about the benefits of having a well-thought-out plan in a timely fashion.
Thank you. Representative Dudden, followed by Dean Shinbra.
Super quickly, public land is never, like, if you sell it, it never comes back. We can find private property and we can negotiate. And I am just saying this as the person that for 15 years has worked in my town or my portion of Noank. You keep it, you make it public, it's public, it becomes public. People have parked their cars, their boats, everything at the Noank Public School Garden, which
Point
is...
of order.
Yes, ma'am?
Yes, what's your point of order?
My point of order is, what does this have to do with our plan of conservation and
It
development?
has to do...
Hold on one second.
No, thank you so much.
Excuse me, I have the floor, just to be clear.
Sorry, I was just thanking my
I
representative.
understand, but that's not in our rules. We used to have that in the rules, and I am the arbiter of those. Representative Massa, you are in order. If we could just stick to our agenda item here, which is the amended first figure of 8F0,
Okay.
and try to weave that tightrope, if you don't mind, please.
I'm
Thank you.
just saying, once it's public, it's public. When it's private, it never goes back.
Thank you. Representative Dean Shinbra.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think I jumped the gun on backing the zero. I think we're going to have to vote for the 50,000. We don't really have a choice. We need to, if we're going to get the plan in place to get a grant, and I like grants, they save us money, then we need to put up the 50,000.
Okay. Unfortunately, at this time, we have the first amended figure of 0 on the floor. It would require the retraction of that motion, which I don't believe Representative Bailey is keen on at this point. So we're going to have to move with this first amended figure of 0. Any other discussion on the amended figure? Yes, Representative Whitney, M.
Yes, so this CIP is a follow-on from last year where we approved $150,000. And I think that's largely for consultant fees, but and this additional 50,000 might go to consultants, but I think it's more about public outreach and getting meaningful, widespread input to this once a decade plan. Is that my understanding? Is that correct?
I couldn't have said it better myself, yes. That was spot on.
And again, just as background, there's been a vocal plea to get the public involved in these conversations before government makes the decision on these plans. So it appears to me that this is the path of progress in a sense.
Yeah, you know, we often hear from people that show up at a public hearing or at a planning commission meeting when a use is proposed for a site. And normally when a use is proposed or an application comes in, well, we should have been thinking about if that's the right use for the property when the plan of conservation and development was developed and proposed, not once the zoning was already adopted and that enabled that type of use. So if we're thinking about the long-term vision of where Groton should be where, and what shouldn't be where, this is the most important document that we deal with. So it's the plan of conservation and development. Thank you.
Representative Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As much as I would normally agree with 0, unfortunately, it would not make that much of a difference as far as any kind of reduction, considering we've already upped the some various other accounts. But my question is, if Representative Shinbrat retracts her second and nobody else seconds, would Representative Bailey have to take his?
Well, he
That-
wouldn't. I would prefer at this time, since we're already on this number, and if we already have some sort of consensus, we just go to the vote, and then we can move on from there. Okay. All right. Any other discussion on the First Amendment figure of 0 on the floor for 8F? All right, I'm going to call a vote. All those in favor of the First Amendment figure for 8F, please say aye.
Can you repeat the number?
0.
Make sure everybody knows.
Representative Bailey, that is a yes for the 0. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Any other in favor of 0? Oh, boy. Okay. If you could just, all those opposed, please say no.
No. No.
No.
Any abstentions? All right. The First Amendment figure of 0 fails. 1 in favor, 30 opposed, no abstentions. That brings us back to the main motion on the floor of $50,000 for account CIP 8F, Plan of Conservation and Development, and I will again open up floor for discussion on this. Seeing no hands, I'm going to call for a vote on 8F, Plan of Conservation and Development, CIP, $50,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. That's a no. Bailey, yes? It's a no? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. And abstentions. All right, that motion carries 30 in favor, 1 opposed, and 0 abstentions. Thank you so much, Director Reiner, for coming out this evening.
Thank you very much, everyone.
And de facto Chair Keep, you are relieved of duty, so I appreciate you serving us, and you did a wonderful job. Again, these minutes have been submitted to the town clerk's office, but we just needed them to be read for the record.
Sure.
Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to be calling up Parks and Recreation Chair Watson. We've got 3 items, 1064, 3240, and 1010, and then we have some CIPs to deal with. Would you like the chair? You want this? I'm going to give it to you anyways, so just in case.
This is pretty cool. It's like the chair I have out in the kitchen to do something at the counter.
All right, so I recognize Chair Watson, and he can give us a synopsis on those minutes. Again, when you're done with all of this for this evening, then we'll move to accept, okay? Because since this is the last account of the evening.
I was going to say that because they're kind of just all listed after I read kind of the introduction to my minutes.
Okay.
Okay. The Town of Groton Representative Town Meeting Recreation Committee special meeting. Meeting was held on the 23rd of April at 6 o'clock, and it was all via Zoom. Actually, the meeting didn't get called to order, so we didn't have a quorum until 6:28. As for roll call, committee members present were myself, Leanne Aubrey and Kristen Powers, and there was more staff than committee members. Mark Berry was there, Eric Morrison, Ben Morse, Tabitha Wilson, and Mary Jo Riley were also there. New business. The first account we discussed was 1064. It's on page 154 of your budget book. And I'll save the number for the end. The same number that was requested and the town manager approved and the town council approved was put forth on the table. It's actually a 6.1% increase with personnel up 88,000, about 88,000, operating expenses up 50,000. And one of the highlights that I particularly liked was one of the things they managed to do in their budget our proposal was to up the scholarships, mostly for kids for summer camp. So the number of $2,426,709 was moved by Representative Powers, seconded by myself, and it was voted 3-0 to accept. And I put that number on the, let me put that number on the
Yes,
floor at this
please.
time?
Yes, sir.
I put that number on the floor. You don't have it up there.
I didn't get the number yet, so I have to
Two.
wait.
Oh, somebody seconded it? $2,426,709.
All right, so the motion was moved by Representative Watson, seconded by Powers S., for $2,426,709.
Correct.
Okay, so again, this is account 1064. We are on page 154 in our budget book. And again, Parks and Recreation, this was the number that was given by the manager, approved by the town council, and also approved by RTM committee. I open up the floor for discussion on this number. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, Representative Dudden.
Sorry, I talked too much.
No, absolutely not.
I'm a teacher and a mom, and so how do we advertise this? Because yes, I'm in total support of all of this, but we're talking about summer camp. Can we have a bake sale to make advertising so that families know that this is possible?
Okay, I'm going to recognize Director Barry here, and if I'm not mistaken, we do a lot of promotions via social media. We have the Discover books that go out as well, but is there anything else that would help promote this scholarship fund?
So those are the primary tools that we use to promote the fact that there are summer camps. We print enough brochures to go to every household, and they've been distributed. A number of weeks ago, our summer camps are filling up, and then we consistently post on Instagram, Facebook, and then we're also.
With all due respect, sir,
Yep.
could we possibly do like a flyover? I'm serious. It's like I live in Groton and I have not received anything.
Okay. We probably have some here. Before I leave this evening, I will make sure that you have one.
My kid is running a summer camp, so it's like when
I'm sorry, you're going to have to speak with the microphone, and please stand, thank you.
my kid is running a summer camp, and he's running a summer camp for rich kids. So like the kids in Pequannock and the kids at the Navy base, let them know this is possible.
And actually we do, well, sorry. Actually we do. We have, I think, a full page in the Discover brochure that talks about the scholarship program that we have. So that is...
Representative
yeah,
Dutton,
okay.
I can also confirm what Director Barry is saying. I've gotten the books and the packets and the brochures, and it is quite clear that there are scholarships available. I also have seen many of the Town Parks and Recs Facebook posts promoting the summer camps and the ability of applying for a scholarship.
Okay, so all I'm asking is maybe we have a disparate Groton going on, but my colleague and we did not receive anything. I picked up my mail every day. And I'm saying this straight out because we have a disparate Groton, and I speak to everybody in this town. And I'm just saying, if we've got a public program that's available, it needs to be widely advertised.
I would have to, again, respectfully agree that with Director Barry that it is. If we need a flyover, I don't know exactly where that's going to put us in the budget for Parks and Rec, But if there's any other avenues that, and if listen, if that isn't a logistical issue, guys, hold on, folks, please. All right, so I believe we have the director here. If you give him your address, you'll get it. Same thing with Representative Pulaski. Representative Keep, you have the floor.
I guess it's more, I'm a retired marketing professor, so I actually appreciate the value of marketing, but my question is, to what extent do these scholarships go underutilized? And to what extent are the camps fill up, or are they not filled up? I mean, in other words, if we're full, we're doing okay, right?
Right. So last year, 44% of our summer camp kids were on scholarship. Since last May, we've given out $51,000 in scholarships. So to me, that says there's an awareness of the scholarships and a utilization of the scholarships. Now, it does sound like maybe some parts of the community didn't receive the brochure, and I'm not sure why. We distributed them through the Postal Service. And if we're not reaching everybody, then we need to to figure out how we can do something different in order to reach, make sure that everybody is informed.
Well, you know, the scholarship money that you gave out, in a sense, which is, in a sense, it's a waive of the fee, right?
Not entirely.
Okay.
No, it's a reduction. We have a couple of different levels that the fees get reduced to, and we do have some families that even with the scholarship, even with the reduction, they still are not able to pay, and we have money that families donate to the department, and that is used as grant money to help further offset the cost of the programs.
All right, thank you.
Representative Dean Shimbrock.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I got everything. I see it on Facebook and Instagram, and the kids at school too, and the moderator and I know this well, they talk about the summer programs. They're all aware, who's going to do what, who's going to which camp. I'm going the entire time. I'm only going for 3 weeks, whatever. And they're plotting and planning in kindergarten or what they're going to do. So they're pretty aware. I think it might be nice if people can, when they sign up, if they can pay full freight, throw in a few extra bucks, because that's kind of what we used to do with field trips at school. If you could pay for sometimes people would pay for an additional child to go. And I don't think people think of doing that with Parks and Rec, to be honest. But my grandchildren were beneficiaries of that. They had a scholarship to karate. And they couldn't have gone otherwise, because I paid part of it, and their dad couldn't pay anything. So I really appreciated that scholarship, but I knew it was there from the school system. So I know it's talked about at school.
Yeah, and one other thing I forgot to mention is we do put the brochures, they're out at all the public buildings. We also put them out with, we have a number of local businesses that support what we're trying to do, and we make it a point to put those brochures in the local businesses also. So we're trying to get the word out as best we can, but clearly we need to do a better job.
Before I recognize first-time speakers, I just want to go back to our main motion, which is $2,426,709. It is the number that was approved by the manager. It was the number that was approved by the town council and by committee. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Councilor Bordelon, do you have something to contribute to this discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to, thank Mr. Berry for all of his efforts and the town manager. And I do agree, even with the 50% off funding, there are certain people who couldn't even afford the remaining balance. I can also agree that we do the advertising. I have been getting the flyers, and but I do online, as I'm looking now, it's advertising summer camp, but it does not say on the Facebook page that there's scholarship options available. It lists, your reminder, summer camp, we have 5 to 15-year-olds, STEM, sports, job readiness, something for everyone, but it doesn't state that there's scholarships available. So maybe that might be a place, I can agree, the more advertising, the better, but also, yes, I think the cost of the type of advertising that was recommended would be very high cost, but maybe just adding this on the Facebook page would help move it along. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on the main motion on the floor? Very well, seeing none, I'll call for a vote on account 1064, Parks and Recreation. The number is $2,426,709. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right. Onward and upward. Let's,
Thank
Chair
you,
Watson.
Mr. Moderator.
Thank you.
We'll move on to account 2010, which is Shinnecock Golf Course. It's on your budget book page, 159. This is a number that the town manager actually took a little bit from the requested, you took about $10,000 from the requested amount, and the town council agreed and passed this number. A number of $1,620,601 was moved by Powers and seconded by Aubrey, and it passed 3-0 in committee. Can we read that off again? 1620601.
Can you just entertain that motion, please?
I will move $1,620,601.
Second.
All right, motion was moved by Chair Watson, seconded by Powers S. Count 2010, Shinnecock Golf Course Fund. It's on page 159 in your book, and as Chair Watson stated, this was the number that was passed by the town council as well as the committee. I open up the floor for discussion on this, and just to be clear, we've had these discussions. We have our golf pro and we have our superintendent back there, if we have any questions. However, this is essentially a self-funded account. Okay, so in essence, guys, we approve the expenditures, they then recoup it in revenues. So in essence, if I'm wrong, we're cost neutral on this one. Is that correct? There it is. Any other discussion on this? Representative Fox.
Is that an exact number where we get exactly what we put into it, we get it back out, or is there some float in that?
Since COVID, we have actually generated more revenue than our expenses, and what happens is that gets put into a fund balance account, and when we get into the CIPs, we're going to have a discussion about that fund balance account. So yes, we get, since COVID, we have been getting everything back, plus prior to COVID, we would, most years, I think there's one year that, since I've been here, where we had a string of like 12 weekends in the spring where it rained every weekend, and we ended up having to use the fund balance that we had previously accumulated in order for us to balance the golf course fund for that year.
Okay, thank you. I had a second question. In the usage of the golf course, what's the percentage of town residents that use it as opposed to non-town residents using the golf course?
You've stumped me on that one. I could have told you the percentages of season pass holders versus green play. honestly.
Something like, I mean, if you can tell me, I'm just trying to get
I
a
could
sense
make
of
it
how
up,
much
but
the
I
town
don't-
actually uses.
I don't really want to do that. I honestly don't know, and I'm not sure that the superintendent.
Yeah, Director Barry, you don't necessarily have a town pass season and then a non-town pass season, you know, like resident-wise, do you?
Yeah, Eric, do we know?
It's like 60/40.
Okay, 60.
60
Okay,
resident,
so 60
40
resident,
non-resident.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this account, 2010, excuse me.
Yeah.
All right, seeing no other discussion, I'll call for a vote on 20.
Is there a pricing difference between town residents and non-residents for the use of the golf course?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
there's
there's
a
a discount for residents,
Okay.
yes, that's correct.
All right, seeing none, no other discussion on account 2010. I'm going to call a vote for the amount of $1,620,601. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries unanimously, 3100.
Account 3240, Recreation and Senior Activities Budget. That one is on page 164 of your budget book. This is a number that was the same across the board, request town manager and the town council number. And a motion by myself, seconded by Representative Obry, of $1,343,185, passed committee 3-0.
Thank you. Can you please move that number now, please?
Oh, sure. I would move $1,343,185.
Okay, motion was moved by Representative Watson, seconded by Representative Powers S. The number on the floor for account 3240, Recreation and Senior Activities, is $1,343,185. I open up the floor for discussion. This is the number, again, as Chair Watson stated, has moved from manager to town council to RTM committee.
Right.
Yes, please, Mr. Berry.
All right, thank you. I just also wanted to point out that this is actually a cost-neutral account. So the revenue that we collect from programs goes to pay for all the expenses associated in this budget.
Thank you, Director Berry.
Just help me because it says 221.
3240 is the account. It's on page, excuse me, hold on.
Page 164.
164. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote on account 3240 in the amount of $1,343,185. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Abstentions. Motion carries unanimously, 30-0-0. Thank you. All right, Chair Watson, we're up to CIPs in
A.
4.
A first. This is a facilities improvement budget. It's a CIP. It's on page 221. The committee went along with what the town manager and town council had voted on, and I will move $43,000. That was passed in committee. Motion by myself, seconded by Representative Obry, and it passed 3-0. Again, I'm moving $43,000.
Second.
Okay, motion was moved by Watson, seconded by Fitzgerald. Can you just give me the letter number? Because
A.
It's A, okay. Let's start with that one. Facilities improvements, okay? And the main motion on the floor is for $43,000. I open up discussion on this motion. Representative Dean Shimbra.
I know that, oh, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I know that you have you're gonna repave the boat ramp. Does it need to be repaved, or is this just a program, a timing thing? It's repaved every 5 years or whatever?
I can speak to that.
Oh, okay.
Because I use that boat ramp. You're talking about the one down at Burroughs, the Little League field? It's awful. There's a huge hole that you can't back into. The only thing that really can be launched there safely and with these is kayaks.
I can also confirm that, Representative Dean Shinbrat. It is something that I've noticed over the past few years. Kayaks, jet skis, but again, it does become quite hard to navigate if you're, let's say, on in years and trying to find steady footing, and it would be quite helpful in order to get that improved. Yes, Director Berry.
So I just want to make this clear. We're not talking about just repaving. What we're planning to do is actually extend, in order to mitigate the problems that both folks have described, we're looking to extend the boat ramp further out into the water. Because we're doing that, we need to go through a planning and a permitting process, and we're hiring a consultant that does this type of work along the shoreline. That is their specialty. So the first part of this will be developing the plans, going through the permitting process, and then we would come back next year, and we'd actually be looking at not paving, but they've talked about, they have like giant concrete blocks that are utilized in other locations that have worked out very well, and they tend to sustain themselves longer. So don't expect that we're going to repave this year or next fiscal year. I just wanted to make that clear, so.
And if you, and I believe in the CIP, it shows the breakout on, the oncoming years of what it's going to cost, so.
Right.
This is pretty typical. I mean, I'm just giving you background from when I've been here, that initially you'll have a number, and then numbers will come after it. Typically, the number will be bigger the next year. However, if we're working on this number right now, on the planning and development of this. Yes, Director Berry.
Sorry.
No, please.
The one other thing I wanted to say is the reason, well, there's a couple of reasons that we're proposing this project. The second reason, first is a condition. The second is, when we did the recreational needs study 2 years ago, one of the top needs identified in the community was better access to natural bodies of water. So that's one of the reasons that we're doing this, is to make it more user-friendly, to help reach one of the needs identified.
And just to add on to that, Director Berry, this is the only town-owned boat launch in town, is that correct? I mean, besides under the Mystic Bridge?
Yeah, there are some other boat launches, but there's limitations, like down at Esker Point Beach. Depending on the size of motor and the boat, you might be able to get under the bridge, but yeah, there's some limitations. There is a boat launch also in Mystic. Yeah, Water Street. So there are a couple of others, and they all have their challenges.
Representative Fox?
That was my question as to the other boat ramps in town. Do we have a similar maintenance program for those boat ramps as well, or are those just being neglected, or?
No, they're not being neglected. The boat ramp at Esker Point Beach is quite a bit different. It's not paved. It's a gravel, generally used by stand-up paddleboarders, kayakers, canoers. I'm not sure that I've ever seen maybe a really small motorized craft in there.
I'm thinking the ones down on Water Street there. There's one that is very public, and then there's a second one down that's part of a shipyard down there. I don't know if we have any access to that, or if that's part of our system or not.
Well, the one next to Water Street is the one that's maintained by the town, and as far as I'm aware, that's in good shape.
Okay.
There's just, the challenge there is there's no parking. So
There is no
you can,
parking.
you can, offload your boat on a trailer, and then you've got to
And then you gotta move it
park,
out.
3.5 miles away. And, yeah.
That one is really not in very good shape. It's got a huge drop, and it's very difficult to get a trailer in and out of there.
The one on Water Street?
The one on Water Street is in terrible shape. But I don't know, if part of your study, you can maybe look at that one as well. And maybe we should be prioritizing these things instead of putting it all into one. Get a look at all of our boat ramps. And I don't want to expand your project any more than it is, but looking at our boat ramps, and there's a lot of public access areas around that don't seem to get maintained, and they are listed on our maps as public access, but there's no visible sign that is a point where the public could access the water. And this may be out of line for this particular thing, but it's something that I think we've missed in the town in terms of looking at this public access to the water. Thank you.
The brochure that some of you received actually had a map in it that showed the public access points, and we did that purposely to, again, try to address what the feedback from the needs assessment was, access to public bodies of water. So we generated a map this year just focusing on those public access points. And if they're not well enough marked, we can certainly go back and make sure that they are.
Yeah,
And
that is my point,
Yep.
is that I have seen them on the maps, but when you drive down to where these places are, it's not obvious that those are public access spots. And so I think the signage would be an improvement over what we presently have.
Sure. And there are signs in some locations, and we can check to make sure that there's more signage. Some of the locations are really tricky. It's a tiny wedge between a couple of private properties, and abutting homeowners aren't really interested in having boaters and people get access to that. So, but we will work on trying to get better signage.
Thank you. Just a note for the record, Representative Casper has joined us via Zoom. We have 32 members present. Representative Dutton?
Super quick question, because some of our questions make it sound as if Groton is not a community. Like, you got rich white people who want to get their boats in the water. You got people who can't afford their housing at all. And that's not what Representative Fox has been saying. We want everybody on the water. We want everybody to share a public space. And what we're trying to figure out here is a common denominator of how to speak as Groton. And I think that's what we're all asking as an incredibly respectful community that is together. And we are incredibly fortunate to have our space, and yet, okay, our boat ramps actually, forgive me, suck. The public ones do. And I'm saying that having tried to drive my boat into, backwards today. It didn't work. I had to come back out because there were potholes. And, we've got issues in Groton. And I'm just saying, how do we best address this without becoming a divisive community, which we are not? And I think a lot of...
Point of order.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Sorry.
Your point of order?
I understand what the representative is trying to get across, but this is budget time. And I think we need to stick to the budget issues, and perhaps these other issues can be dealt with at another time.
Thank you. Yes, you are in order with that. Again, I understand your need for this inclusivity of all things. Right now, we're working on this item, which is $43,000 for CIP 4A, which is the study to improve the boat launch at Parazotti. I've mentioned this before, and I'm again, if I'm out of order, apologize. We've had these discussions during our regular meetings on other business and what we want to do as referrals. A lot of times when we have these discussions during budget time, there's great questions that come up. I would highly recommend that you have a to-do list for all people, and then we can make those referrals and try to discuss those items or bring them to the powers that be that can solve these issues. Okay, and I do just recall that Director Barry did say that we've done a study on this, and the purpose of them trying to improve this boat launch was because of the study that was done. Is that correct?
That is correct. When we did the recreational needs assessment, one of the highest needs identified through the needs assessment was better access or more access to natural bodies of water. So we're trying, one of the steps that we've taken, as I mentioned, we created the map to raise awareness, and we're looking to come up with a plan to make improvements to the boat ramp at Calvin Burrows.
Thank you. Representative Perella, followed by Whitney.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The only thing that I noticed about this particular budget item was that we are approving a CIP with planning for the development of a boat launch, which I think you are correct in all of the meetings that the town has indicated the people want access to water. The only question I had, because it's related to the budget, is just a few minutes ago we voted to increase the plan of development budget by a significant amount. So my question would be, would this be any way that you could work with that department, and is this included in that particular plan, or is this a totally separate entity? Because if it's already in the plan and it's going to be developed in the greater plan of development, if it's not, why isn't it?
Sure. So the POCD that Director Reiner was talking about is kind of like a 40,000 foot level plan. The plan that we're talking about is much more specific. It's to one boat ramp.
It's sea level instead of 40,000 feet.
What's that?
It's sea level instead of 40,000.
It's sea level instead of 40,000 feet. Sorry. Yes, thank you. Yeah, the POCD would not include plans for specific recreational facilities. The POCD would say, you know, we need to, and I'm just throwing this out, we need more open space, we need less open space, we you know, we need better connectivity between parks and businesses and things like that. And so this is a sea level plan versus a 40,000 foot plan.
Thank you for the clarification.
Representative Whitney.
Just I got two questions. I'll make a quick boat launch comment. The public access to the Mystic River at Park Place only really takes mowing to be a soft entryway for kayaks and put in and stand-up paddle boards. I know there might be parking issues there, but I do point that out. That would take very little effort. So that's my comment. My question is on the other part of the CIP, the $15,000. I think it's for park bench replacements, which makes a lot of sense, but I was wondering if there's specific areas that are already been identified, like specific locations.
Yeah,
Funny you should
Representative Whitney, before we go on to that, we're on this item here, so if
Yep.
you want to go, we can talk about that.
It's part of this.
It's part of this one right now.
Yeah, the 28,000 is
Okay, I
for planning
apologize.
of the boat ramp, and then the 15,000 I
Thank you.
think is for the benches.
That is correct. It's 28 and 15, 43 total, yes. And we have identified locations to put park benches. Parazotti Boat Launch, there's no bench there. There's no bench at Mystic Academy, no bench at Central Park, no bench at Woods Walk, no bench at Sparkle Lake, no bench at Noank Town Dock. There's memorial benches, but, and again, when we did the recreational needs assessment, people identified that they wanted improved parked facilities. They wanted, and this is one step towards that effort of improving parks by providing additional recreational amenities, specifically park benches. So we've identified a number of parks already.
Thank you. Is there any attempt to partially offset that cost by like getting sponsorships, memorial benches, things like that?
Yes, and that was actually suggested at the council level, and people must have been listening because we actually got 2 phone calls shortly after with people that were interested in memorial benches for a loved one that had passed, and we're currently working with those families to try to locate some of these benches in those locations. And we're also going to put together kind of a campaign letting people know that this opportunity is available. We haven't done that yet but we will be.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
And someone might want to point an order to me, but I'm just wondering, in past years we approved Sutton Park bathrooms. I'm just wondering what the state of that is.
Sure. We're getting ready to go through the inland wetland portion of the permitting because the expansion to the skate park is right up adjacent to Fishtown Brook, and so we need to go through that first. Then we need to go through the planning process. The design is complete, and once we get through permitting, then we would put together an RFP. I'm hopeful that sometime late summer, early fall, we will start construction. That's my hope.
Is there any other discussion on the floor? The main motion is for $43,000 at CIP 4A. Oh. Council Bordelon, do you have something?
Thank you, Manager Burt. I just wanted to state to Mr. Berry, thank you so much for, it was one of my suggestions to bring forward seeing exactly what Representative Whitney had stated at the council level. I do support park benches. I think it's part for the ADA compliance. It's nice to have that accessibility for folks who need it, and it makes it more welcoming for all ages and abilities. And one of the things I had asked was, putting out
Okay,
some type of
Council Bordelon,
information.
do you have anything to contribute to the main motion on the floor about approving or denying the $43,000? Because we're trying to do our business here, and we do not need the time, we don't have the time to relitigate and discuss what you discussed at the town council level.
I'm just repeating what
Thank
I'm
you.
allowed to do, and I just simply stated that I think that this could be funded. As he stated, he got a call already. So my question to the, in support of this number, to Mr. Berry is, as of now, the information's not online for people to access. But the hope is that that will be there so folks and sponsors can, get involved and maybe sponsor benches. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there any other discussion on the main motion on the floor? All right, seeing none, I'm going to call for a vote on a CIP 4A. That is facilities improvements. The main motion on the floor is for $43,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Abstentions. All right, motion carries unanimously. 32 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions. All right, Chair Watson, if you can go on, please.
We're on to B? Is only on B? Okay.
We're only on B.
Okay, this is Community and Connectivity Program. It's on page 222. The committee went along with what the town council did. Basically was by consensus, we agreed to the 0 figure. There was discussion about a grant and the timing for the grant, And if need be, it was an 80-20 state grant. If need be, this could be brought back up mid-season as the year goes on. So we just by consensus agreed with the council at 0, so I don't think that we need to vote on this at all.
Correct, unless there's somebody that's compelling themselves to want to reinstate this number, which would then in time need a 2/3 majority vote.
We're going to have one of those.
Okay, how nice.
All right.
So we can move on from that?
I'm not compelling, I just want to pass around cookies.
We're not at recess yet, but you could, if you want to, please feel free, as long as it's not disrupting the town's business. Thank you.
Okay, C.
I wanted to give the shout out to the 93-year-old woman who made those cookies on behalf of the RTM.
Robinson, I'm sorry if you all are from Groton.
Angie Robinson, thank you so much for giving us that sugar intake. I appreciate it. They were delicious, by the way. I need the recipe. Go ahead, Chair Watson.
C, this is golf course improvement budget. It's on page 223. We actually voted unanimously to go along with a 0 number. There was discussion, I think Mr. Berry earlier said we were going to talk about using golf course funds, and this was part of our discussion, and so I'll yield the floor to you.
Okay, so again, before we get started, CIP 4C is for golf course improvement. The RTM committee had zeroed out this budget. The town council adopted, if I can confirm with the mayor over there, for $200,000. However, they have a fund balance, which is what Representative Fox was mentioning before. When there is a surplus on that golf course fund, it then gets transferred into the golf course fund balance in order to pay for these items. Again, for some of those folks that haven't been here before, I know some of us have, there was a time when we would end up paying for the CIPs to improve the golf course, and now they actually have a... We still pay almost all of it. Oh, how nice. Okay. We still pay for it, but again, it looks fantastic. Those bunkers, those sand traps look phenomenal. Again, we got Todd Goodhue, our golf pro, and Eric Morrison, our golf superintendent, if there's any questions. Go ahead, Director Berry.
So we had originally proposed, in the budget presented to the town manager, an amount of $629,000 to continue making renovations to the golf course. I do want to point out that we do a survey every 2 years of golfers, and one of the questions, we ask a number of questions, but one of the questions we ask is how much do you spend when you come to Groton? And we've been doing this survey for the last 8 or 10 years. And consistently, the number that we get back from everybody is golfers spend about $400,000 when they come to Groton. That's gas money, that's lodging, food, things like that. So in addition to the revenue that gets generated for the golf course that goes into the fund balance, there's also a net benefit to the community. The town manager zeroed out our request. So we went back and said, looked at what we had in fund balance and said, we are proposing to use $200,000 from fund balance to continue the ongoing work that we have that's been taking place at the golf course. So that is the proposal, is $200,000 entirely from fund balance to continue working on the projects.
Do I need to move that number?
Yes, because right now, again, we don't have a number on the floor. You just gave us what was presented by the RTM committee. So we don't have a motion on the floor. So if that's your desire, Chair Watson, you can do that.
So I'll move the $200,000.
Second.
Okay, motion has been moved and seconded for CIP 4C, Golf Course Improvement Plan, in the amount of $200,000. Now, again, this would require a simple majority in order to restate and restore these funds. Well, yeah, So it's just a simple majority vote would do that. Representative S. Powers, followed by Dudden.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Director Barry, that 200,000 comes out of the golf course fund balance, correct? Not the Parks and Recs balance?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Golf course fund
Thank you.
balance, yes.
Representative Dudden, followed by Whitney.
Super fast. Shenny is great. That's where my kid learned to play. And again, I'm talking about advertising. You get off the plane, you get out of your car, you get out of wherever. People don't know it's here, and it is a great course. And it just needs a little grass seed. So
I'm sorry, it needs what?
grass seed.
A little grass seed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Director Barry, I know over the years, Shennecossett is one of the top public golf courses. Where is it ranked right now? Do you happen to know? Last time I checked, it was number 2. I'm getting a nod from our golf pro, Mr. Goodhue, so. All right, top 5, I like
Yeah,
that.
public courses, right.
Wonderful.
We've been number 1 with the day for 3 or 4 years in a row, so whatever that's worth.
I'll keep it going on that note. Representative Whitney.
Just 2 quick questions. One, it seems like at $200,000, that's probably like 1 hole worth of funding. Is that right?
No, we're actually hoping that will do the bunkers by 2 and 7 green and renovations on 3T and the fairway bunkers on 5, 6, and 7.
So that keeps it going in a very meaningful way.
It does, yes. And the reason that we're focusing on bunkers is, I mentioned earlier, we do the golfer satisfaction survey every 2 years. Bunkers consistently score the lowest. So we're focusing on improving our bunkers.
Aren't they just complaining about there being bunkers?
That's part of it, yes. And what happens is over the course of time, the face of the bunker keeps getting bigger because golfers are in the bunkers hitting the sand, and the sand just keeps piling up, and it's incredible over the course of 30 or 40 years or even longer. The original bunker was maybe 1.5 feet high, and it's now 4.5 feet high. So there's a lot of sand. And that just slows down the pace of play, which is something that we're focusing on. Also, is people want to get in a round of golf as relatively as quickly as they can.
Got it. Thank you. My other question is, what if you know the relatively current balance in the golf fund?
So the audited balance as of FYE 23 was $828,000. 828,874.
All right, any other discussion on this CIP? Representative Wells.
Last year, I popped into the clubhouse and asked a question about something, and one of the members was there, found out it was in the RTM, and it was, thank you for approving the improvements to the bunkers on stuff. So they focus very nicely on what we do, not what still remains undone at the course. So it's important that we do this. We gotta, and don't leave them with the courses the same as last year, and they start thinking about all the things that haven't been done. Thank you.
I would concur with Representative Wells on this. I can remember very vividly last year when we were having this discussion about golf improvement that I actually walked from my backyard to the hole 3 where they were actually redoing the bunker, and it looks phenomenal. So again, kudos to your work over there. Any other discussion on this main motion on the floor for CIP 4C for $200,000? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Abstentions. Motion carries unanimously, 32-0.
Hello?
Hello? Who's helloing me?
I think it was.
Is it the cat? I don't know.
All right, D.
All right, item D.
Park investment/ADA compliance budget, page 224 in your book.
Okay.
The Committee recommended $40,000, moved by Powers, seconded by Aubrey, was voted 3-0 to accept. And this is for accessibility routes for people that need ADA accessibility I got a couple of them written down here, Paquonic Plains, Esker Point Beach, and a couple others. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I'll move the $40,000.
All right, moved by Representative Watson, seconded by Representative Powers S, CIP 4D, Park Investments, ADA Compliance, $40,000. I open up the floor for discussion. Representative Dean Shinbrot.
Sorry, I'm talking a lot tonight. I really have to appreciate the Esker Point mat you have, because if his sister's had a stroke while walking, she's with the cane, only place we can take her to the beach. So that's really, really nice. But I noticed you said something about Woodcrest Park. That's across from my house. So can I ask what you're going to do over there?
Sure. So we're trying to improve accessibility to a number of our parks. In 2013, we had a consulting group come in and look at all of our recreational facilities and identify areas where accessibility was lacking. And we have, since then, the town's been committing money to improving accessibility. We made renovations to the boathouse at Esker Point Beach. This summer, we're going to begin making renovations to the bathhouse at Calvin Burrows. And we've made a number of other improvements, and we're trying to improve accessibility to some of the playgrounds. Now, not all the playgrounds need to be accessible, but we're trying to improve accessibility to playgrounds and also within the parks. Last year, we worked with the Public Works Department and created dedicated handicap parking spots, paved ramps up to the adjacent to the bleachers, because folks in a wheelchair or walker ought to have the same vantage point as someone that's fully mobile. So we're looking to make improvements in a number of these parks. At Paquonic Plains Parks, I'll give you an example specifically. There's a set of bleachers adjacent to the football field, where the football and right now, there's really no, you've got the walking path that goes all the way around it, but there's really no accessible route from the walking path over to the bleachers. So we're looking to put in, our manager of Parks and Open Space found a product that actually you lay on top of the ground, you roll it into the ground, so it creates a grid. It's a firm surface, but the grass still grows through it, because that area between the walking track and the bleachers is an area that gets mowed. So the grass will still grow up through it, but there'll be a firm surface for somebody in a walker or wheelchair. So that's just one example of what we're planning on doing in these different locations.
Okay, is there any other further discussion on this? Seeing no further discussion, I'm going to call for a vote on item CIP 4D, Park Investments, ADA Compliance. The number on the floor is $40,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously, 32-0. Chair Watson.
E. This is athletic field development, and it's on page 225. The town council zeroed out the proposed request from $20,000, and we talked about this in committee. The committee moved by Powers, seconded by Aubrey, voted 3-0 for the RTM to reconsider the $20,000, and that would take a 2/3 vote, I believe. And our director can talk about it even more, but it's basically some sort of safety net to protect pedestrians and other people from lacrosse balls, soccer balls, that sort of thing. Is that a fair?
And before we get on to discussion, if you don't mind moving the
I will move
committee
the
recommendation.
$20,000.
Second.
Okay, motion was moved by Watson, seconded by Whitney M. for $20,000 for CIP 4E. You can go ahead, Director Barry, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The Groton Youth Lacrosse Organization brought to our attention the concern that they had, and that was that the arrangement of the fields, the walking path is not that far behind where the lacrosse goals are and where the soccer goals are. And they had seen incidents where people were walking and, not all the lacrosse shots are going into the net, and some of those lacrosse, that can travel at a pretty high rate of speed. And so they wanted to see if we could do something to put up some netting, which occurs in different locations, netting behind the goals for lacrosse and for soccer on the first two fields, fields 1 and field 2, to protect those folks that are using the walking path, because there's a lot of activity going on. It's not exclusive use for athletics. There's people that are out there walking after work, and they had a concern, and I think it was justified, that somebody's going to get hit. Cars have been hit. You can see actually if you look at the bathhouse building, there's perfectly round holes in some of the siding. So some of the kids are all learning, and some of the shots are just kind of going everywhere. And so we had proposed to put up netting behind those two fields to be proactive versus reactive.
Thank you. Representative Frickman, followed by Whitney M. Or Frickman, did you have your hand up, or did I get
Sorry.
that?
Yep, sorry, I forgot to hit mute.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. And thank you, Mr. Barry, for mentioning this, because I've been a coach for Groton Mystic Lacrosse for a number of years. My kid played through the whole program. He's in high school now. And I've been to many other programs, and they all have netting. They all have the safety nets. And I'm actually rather shocked that the town would prevent this, because this is actually a liability on us. If one of those balls hits a kid or a parent walking behind, and there's been so many occasions I've seen this really close, or we've had to push people away, and we'd say, don't sit behind the goals, or cars have been hit, and everybody knows from the program, don't park your car behind the one of the parking lot, down by the where the blockhouse is. I think it's a liability issue in the town if somebody got hurt by one of these balls. And I think it's super important that the town puts these up. And I know I probably would say 90% of the towns I've been to have the netting up, especially if you have pedestrian walkways and parking lots all around it. So I think it's important that we actually approve this. But yeah, I'm shocked that they didn't approve this.
Thank you. Representative Whitney M.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. Are these nets, the nets themselves, are they going to be up all year, or they get taken down during the winter off season?
That's a great question. Thank you. Yes, they would be up just for the lacrosse season and the soccer season, so they would not be up all year. What we would do is put sleeves in the ground, and then the poles that support the netting would slide into those sleeves, and the sleeves would be below ground, below grade level, so that there's not a trip hazard or anything like that.
Great. And connected to that, I was wondering about lifespan. That will increase the lifespan, but I was wondering if there's any estimate of how long a net lasts.
Oh, so you weren't talking about a walker's lifespan. You were talking about the netting. Yes, that would extend it because it's not exposed to UV rays and things. Actually don't have an answer to that question.
Okay. And then is it going to be on both sides, like the far side of the field as well?
Yes, it would just be behind the goals on field 1, field 2, at both ends.
Are there any viewscape concerns? There are several houses that have probably wonderful views from their backyards. Is this going to interrupt in it? It seems like probably not.
Yeah, there is a row of trees that separates those homes that back up to so I don't think it would drastically impact.
I was thinking just that middle field. I don't know if it.
Well,
Yeah.
the row of trees goes the entire length of the three fields.
Okay.
And they're, for the most part, pretty mature trees. We have had to replace a couple, so there could be one or two gaps. But for the most part, there's fully mature maple trees, which, are shading any type of view except during the winter.
Right.
During the winter months.
When the
When
nets
the
won't be
netting
there.
would be down
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Representative Powers, Representative Frickman, I see you, but I'm going to recognize first-time speakers first.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I want to say that anything we can do to improve safety, and there's a lot of people walking around that field, and I don't know if anyone's ever got hit by a lacrosse ball. But let me tell you, you get hit by a lacrosse ball enough, and it's going to hurt worse than a baseball. And if there's old people walking around and they're watching and they get hit or they get knocked down, it's not going to be anything more than a big lawsuit for us. So I agree with the committee reinstating the money, and I believe that we should vote 2/3 and put it back into the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Since I don't see any first-time hands, I'm going to go back to our expert witness, Representative Frickman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Sorry, when I
pleasure.
was talking before, did somebody, I missed the part. Did we move the $20,000 on the table? or-
Yes, sir, we did. It's a restoration of funds, so it's going to require a 2/3 majority vote. We have 32 members present, so that would mean that we need 22 people in the affirmative in order to move this number.
Excellent, thank you.
21.
I've got my book here. It says 32 people, 22 in the affirmative. All right. Is there any other discussion on this? I hope we don't have to get to this point, but we're gonna wing it and see, because this is our last account of the night. With no further discussion, I'm going to call a vote on CIP 4E for $20,000. This is athletic field development. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Bless you. All those opposed, please say no, and raise your hand if you're on Zoom. Abstentions? All right, that motion carries unanimously. 32 in favor, none opposed, no abstentions. That concludes our agenda for this.
No.
What?
Got to vote on my minutes.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay, items G, H, and I, the committee took no action because they were already at 0. And the meeting adjourned at 7:12 PM by unanimous consensus. I would like to move approval of our minutes.
Second.
All right, motion was moved by Chair Watson, seconded by Perella to accept the minutes from the Parks and Rec Committee. Any discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, call a vote on approval of the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. And any abstentions? All right, that motion carries 32 in favor, none opposed, no abstentions. Again, thank you, Director Barry and the golf pros and the superintendent who already left. I just want to be advised, we've been on a pattern here, guys, that we show up on Wednesday, but we're not showing up on Wednesday. We're showing up on Thursday, 6:30, here, May 16th, Thursday, okay? And we've got a bunch of accounts to deal with. So I am going to, without objection, go to recess, and we'll reconvene on Thursday. All right? Thank you very much. We're in recess.